Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Press the analytic data with your hip-hop. If you know them like I know them, they gon' tell you if your team, if they want a lot, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach a lesson.
This is Dr. Cavil's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Mike Washington is out on assignment, so we have none other than AD Drew, Brian, and AD Sports Wrap. With that being said, AD Drew, I'm going to start with you in terms of asking a question from the commissioner's perspective. What are you coming into this as a media person covering various preseason, if you would, football media days? What are you looking to hear from the commissioner, or what question would you ask from the commissioner to kind of have things going into during their state of the address?
First of all, Dr. Cavil and Professor Bishop, I hope you guys please pardon my tardiness and accept my excuse for my late assignment. I will have a written excuse turned in to you guys as soon as we finish this class. That's
I appreciate it.
No, seriously, for the commissioner of the MEAC, outside, and I did have a chance to watch the previous segment, you always get your state of the conference address. Where is the MEAC? We know people have been talking about, we want expansion. We want this with the MEAC. We want that. Where is the MEAC as far as the strategic plan goes? Because from the outside looking in, it does appear that the 6 football institutions, 8 overall, are on the same page. Looks like they're going towards a common goal. The MEAC is not dead. So what are the talks? Because the fans want additional teams to ensure the survival of an HBCU conference. Where is that? Now, we're not going to get that answer, though, because they're not going to give you that answer. They're going to give you the cookie cutter answer for that type of stuff. But you have to address it, because everybody is going to ask that question of the conference commission.
I agree. That is a form of the question that you know that you're not going to get an answer, or probably the most forward answer from. At best, you might get some frameworks of what is to come, but you still have to ask that question. Similar to you, Charles, in terms of the MEAC, in terms of the dress, what are you looking for? Do you tend to look at financials, next directions? I see a lot of activities that are going on with the conference in regards to, it looks like the MEAC is ready to do more of that, really open up to the community. You have the partnership with the NFL flag, Girls on Gridiron Flag Football Clinic, Thursday the 20th, participating ages of 12 and up, 5 to 7, check in at 4 p.m. And then I like this addition also in terms of a breakfast in the morning of the actual media day, MEAC Men's Empowerment Breakfast, if you would, in regards to Antoine Bethea, keynote speaker, MEAC's Football Hall of Famer from 2015, and as you know, Super Bowl champion, Indianapolis Colts. He's speaking on July 21st in terms of 9 a.m. breakfast. What kind of things do you look at when you want to hear what a commissioner is going to say?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
From MEAC perspective,
I'm not sure what I want to hear from the commissioner, but I do want to know what the secret to the sauce is in terms of why they keep whooping the swag in the Celebration Bowl. That's you know. You gotta take your hat off.
You gonna ask the question too.
Yeah,
that question will get answered.
I gotta take my hat off to them as a conference, especially when they went through whatever turmoil. When FAMU and Bethune-Cookman left, they continue to strive, if you will, and they are a six-member team strong in terms of going forward, and they play great football over in that conference. I'm with AD. I am curious if they are curious about expanding the geographic footprint to whatever school, but it is a strong, viable conference, and they have proven themselves year in, year out to be the SWAC spoiler, if you will. So I'm curious about the secret to the sauce.
Can I answer that
Check
question?
this out. We're going to do a little bit of the CNBC. I don't know if you've heard this yet, Charles, but I know Charles be taking out his money quite regularly, so he probably familiar with this. Dow pops more than 300 points for the 7th straight positive day, longest winning streak for a lot of folks of recent years. With that being said, I want you to focus this in terms of the teams, though. MEAC team. Stock market framing, business, sport management. We talk about the business sports. Who's bulls up? Who's bears down? What teams you looking at from that perspective, Charles, in terms of the MEAC?
Obviously, the strongest team, I think, in HBCU football right now. Definitely bull market for North Carolina Central Eagles. They return so much. Obviously, probably the best quarterback in not just HBCU football, but in FCS football. I guess another team that I would probably have in that bull market, it almost pains me to do it, but I think it's going to be very interesting to watch the Howard Bison this year. I know we do it every year, but I have a wary and cautious eye out for the Howard Bison.
Bulls and Bears market for AD. Drew, who you got from this perspective? Banks results lift stock. So I want to know what you say the stock is for which team I need to put my stock in for the MEAC.
Well, according to
public teams.
According to Charles with that Howard one.
I don't know. I'm gonna get some grief.
Yeah, you gonna get some grief because you know what the problem with Howard is, Charles. They don't have the name Carolina in their name, so they won't be in the Celebration Bowl because every school within the Celebration Bowl has had Carolina in their name one way or the other. So unless Howard becomes the Carolina Howard, the tradition says they won't be there. Now, I will start with the bear market. And the bear market is right now is Norfolk State and Delaware State.
Oh, let him blow. Go get it. Go get it.
So, but Norfolk's Dawson Oldham has been there. Norfolk really, after that start they got off to 2 years ago, hasn't shown anything. They've kind of regressed after that start that they got off to during Dawson Oldham's first year. And ever since South Carolina State beat them, it's like, oh wow, this is what the MEACs look like. Dawson Oldham's think he in the SWAC and can just play around with these people. I don't know. Obviously, Delaware State with the coaching change. The ones to hold on, since we talk about the Bulls and the bear market, obviously we know Central is with Central, but the one to hold on is going to be South Carolina State.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Will South Carolina State bounce back and go back to the South Carolina State that we traditionally have known to be battling it out for the MEAC championship, or will South Carolina State look like the South Carolina State we saw last year, where it's like it almost looks like at times where the game had passed Buddy Pugh by? I mean, when you look at those first 5 games South Carolina State has, they may not see a W until Virginia Lynchburg. And if they do win the MEAC, it's going to be a repeat of 2021 when they may be coming in with a 6-5 record into the Celebration Bowl.
Hey, man, be interesting to see where you're gonna put this stock. What I want to ask also, Coach, do you feel that you really like what you see when you talk to him, interview in terms of what you feel the culture? I'm sticking with you, AD Drew, in terms of the MEAC. which teams do you feel that have the best culture in terms of how you hear the players sounding in regards to when you interview them that make you feel like, man, I just think they have a really good culture at that end.
Outside the obvious of Central, because I don't, no offense to Joshua Sims Sr. Central gets all the praise, and Central is all BIAC right now. So I want to bring the shine on somebody else. It has to be the Howard Bison. They point blank said, don't forget about us. We won a championship last year also. Even though people consider it on paper, by rule, there were co-champions last year. That co-champion was Howard. Howard sounds the part this year, coming into this year. Will Howard look the part for 2 consecutive years is the question. Has not been done in a while. 2 consecutive Howard teams looking like that in a long while. So that would be the one. Howard sounds the part. Will they look the part in late November?
Didn't Howard say that they wanted a conference championship? Didn't they come?
I don't know. It's Howard's secret to the sauce. 4-week rest. I'm just gonna say that. And who's gonna come? Wait a minute. Who's going to go to an outdoor championship in the Northeast when you could potentially be playing in DC or Baltimore or Northern Virginia the first week in December? How many people gonna be there?
I don't want you to do that. I watched it on
I'll be watching it on somebody's streaming network.
Charles, culture. Who do you feel has the best culture?
Obviously, Trey Oliver, North Carolina Central. We had him here on this show. Not only does North Carolina Central have a little bit of a chip on the shoulder, but they have swagger. They got that duality thing going, chip and swagger. So obviously, I think North Carolina Central, they come in as the hunted, and teams will be shooting for them. But I think they're up for the challenge.
I'm gonna jump in on this. I'm gonna give a shout out to Coach Wilson, Morgan State University. And I get some cheating a little bit in terms of what I've experienced being around him. Obviously, love what he did with Bowie State, and I think he's transforming quite quickly, I might add, at Morgan State University. So I like what I'm hearing, what I'm feeling, and what the players are saying in regards to the culture that he's put together. So it'll be fascinating to see what that looks like on Friday at the media day. One final question as we get in this last part of this segment. Which games, and they can be conference and non-conference in terms of the MEAC, which game, Charles, that really you believe will be a meaningful one to watch that people should focus on? You can pick a game or two, and again, you can go conference, non-conference, you can go 2 non-conference or 2 multiple conference games. That's up to you. What do you focus on in regards to this season as it comes up? What are some games that you focus on if you're doing the media that you really want to hear some of your media ask the question about in regards to the team, particular games focus on there, I should say?
First one off the top of my head is the game that starts the year off. MEAC SWAC Challenge, South Carolina State and Jackson State. I think everybody is looking at this South Carolina State, especially the horses that they bring back on defense. But South Carolina State is going to be that dark horse team to knock off North Carolina Central, according to a lot of people, and they take on the 2-time defending SWAC champion Jackson State, a reconfigured Jackson State. You get a good look-see on who both of these teams are. Very first game of the year, and that's going to be an exciting game because there are so many question marks around both teams.
I'm going to stick with you with this, and I'll follow up in the backwards order to you, A.D. Drew. Which player, Charles, which player in the MEAC really captures your attention and that you want people to keep their eyes on? Or players are 2. I think one is a given, obviously, quarterback, North Carolina Central. But if you can go outside of that, is there another player that you want people to keep their eyes on?
Defensive back, North Carolina Central, Khalil Baker. I was tremendously impressed with him in the Celebration Bowl. He comes highly regarded coming back into this season. My guess he will be probably the preseason defensive player of the year. But you talk about a lockdown corner, and learning this from Coach Prime, there's a lot of stuff you can do defensively if you have one side of the field locked down. And he is definitely a future pro prospect when you take a look at what he's able to do. Very physical corner, and I just enjoyed watching him play last year.
And you heard the question there, AD Drew, so we'll get to it. Outside of Davis, what player do you say, hey, man, you got to keep your eyes on this? Is to watch somebody that you can see, whether the MEAC Hall of Famer to maybe opportunity at the professional level or just all conference as well can be there. What player you say keep your eyes on out of the MEAC?
I want to take a little bit of a different spin on that question, Dr. Cavil. How about which recruiting class do I want to take a look at and see what they're able to do?
You're going to do a couple of players.
And that's that's going to be Morgan State under David Wilson. We saw what he could do on the Division II level with the type of classes he was able to bring in on the Division II level. Can he do that same thing on the FCS level? So instead of focusing on one player, I want to see the transfers and the high school players that have been brought into Morgan State, a team that, let's be real, a team most of the experts expect to take a real large leap forward this year because of the culture prowess of a Damon Wilson.
That'll bring some offense.
Yeah, and you talked about the games, Dr. Cavil. I'm going to talk about the game, the one that's the elephant in the room. Harvard, Howard, where we call Harvard the Howard of the Ivy League. You know what they call Howard, what they say they call Howard. We call Harvard the Howard of the Ivy League. And with the affirmative action suit that was not suit, but the decision that was settled a couple of weeks ago to bring an HBCU on your campus, if we as HBCU people, minorities, ethnic minorities, whatever moniker you want to use, do not circle that game. And for that one day, everybody becomes a Howard fan and push behind Howard. For that, you don't want to consider us for your school. Okay, we finna whoop that, you know what, on this football field. And we finna do, hopefully we can do to you what USC did to Barry Bryant back in the 70s. Is like, all right, that's enough. I got to go start recruiting me some of them too.
Ooh, the Clarence Thomas Bowl.
Interesting perspective. Let's take our last break. We'll come back on the side and we'll look at the SWAC.
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
Now, you can live in Texas and not have a good red meat blend. Texas Cowboy Dust is designed for steak and other red meats. It's out to be my most popular spice blend, made with onions, peppers, ground mushrooms, pink salt, and other spices. Texas Cowboy Dust also goes great with chicken, pork, vegetables, and adds a restaurant quality sheen to gravies and sauces.
It's like a loot machine. Going around town, people trying to get down.
Vanilla smoked sea salt seasoning is for seafood. The tarragon and fennel bring out the natural sweetness in seafood. I also use it in rice dishes, on yams, asparagus, blueberry pancakes, and believe it or not, chocolate chip cookies. Vanilla smoked sea salt adds a salty and savory component to sweet dishes that create a symphony for the tongue.
From novice to aficionado, find yourself here. High quality cigars plus personal customer service. Slow Burn is Waco's only mobile cigar lounge, featuring a meticulous, curated collection of premium cigars. Visit our website, www.slowburnwaco.com. That's www.slowburnwaco.com.
Compress the analytic data with your hip hop. If you know 'em like I know 'em, they gon' tell you if your team, if they wanna lose, and who the ball. So listen to Professor, yes sir, and pay attention, cause he gon' teach you.
This is Dr. Bill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Charles Bishop and A.D. Drew. We're getting to the SWAC Media Day, which is next Tuesday. With that being said, a week from today, all of us will be transcending on Birmingham, Alabama. Different type of buzz, obviously. A lot of folks I'm hearing are planning to be there, so a lot of media will still be in place to ask the questions. Dr. Charles McCullough always takes advantage of the address that he provides, and he'll give some figures and some facts. So I'm not going to ask that particular question. I want to get into just getting straight into the games. But as we like to call people professors on the show in terms of the labs, I'm going to ask you like this. As the fans get into this and they get halfway there in terms of midterms, which couple of teams will be excited about their midterm grades, and which teams will need to be sent to the study hall? If they were in athletics, they would have extra hours to make sure that they raise their grades before we get into before they get into final exams. I'm gonna ask it that way. Drew, which teams will be excited about the grades they receive on their midterm exams, and thus the midterm grades, versus those that need extra study hall time?
Yeah, this is kind of tough. And I'm gonna start. I'm gonna start off with Charles's team, Jackson State. We don't know which way they are going to go, because with their opening schedule, two neutral site games, South Carolina State, Florida A&M, traveling to Southern, traveling to Texas State, and then another neutral site game with Alabama A&M, with the long home game of Bethune-Cookman before they go to their bye week. Which room will Jackson State be sitting in? Will they be sitting in that extra study session? Or will they go through and look like the Jackson State that we've seen the last couple of years and just have
where they set the curve?
Set the curve, yes. Because I mean they are the most interesting team because of their schedule. And 3 of those games that I'm talking about are conference games, with FAMU, Bethune, and Florida A&M, Southern being a non-conference game. That's going to be the one team. I can't say which room they're going to be sitting in, Doc, but it's going to be interesting monitoring their grade to see which room they wind up in. How about that?
Stuff. I like it. Charles, which team, any team going to be headed to drop the class early? Will they even make it to the midterm grade? Which team do you say, hey, they're going to be fine by the time they get to final exams? No problem. They ace in the class. They won't even have to take the final exams. What direction are you going?
I have a team here that if they can get through September, things are going to be very interesting. I think they have an opportunity to be very happy at midterms. But Prairie ain't in. If they can get past Texas Southern to start the season, and then there's a road trip to Alcorn, and there's a neutral site game with Grambling, if they can get through that, I think they have an opportunity to have a big smile on their face at midterm, and they can set themselves mentally, prepare for the rest of the season in terms of being a front runner in the SWAC West. And there's a later on date with Southern. that could be for all the marbles in the SWAC West. But that's one that I'm a team that I think if they can get to the midterms with a smile, they might be all right.
In terms of the contracts in the SWAC right now, and with so many new coaches, whether first-year coaches or second-year coaches from last year, I don't know if you can truly say there's any coach that will be on the hot seat. But is there any particular coach that you see ascending? And if you wish, you think there's a team that coach that you want to put on the hot seat already, you can do that as well. But is there any coach that you see ascending? Let me start with you, Charles, and then I'm gonna come to you, AD Drew, in regards to which direction you look at particular coaches moving forward this year.
My caveat is I don't think anybody is on the hot seat, but those Rally fans are gonna be sick if they don't get past Jackson State this season. If they can't pull off the win in the Orange Blossom Classic, you're gonna have a snake den of angry fangs down there. But so that will be very interesting to watch. Like you mentioned, there are a lot of new coaches in this conference, but to be very honest, Florida A&M has to step up, and Grambling State University, Grambling Tigers, they have to make a huge step forward this season because we know how Grambling fans, they can get a little itchy. They get itchy with winners. So, so let me get this right. Stacking W's.
Because of the contracts and newness of coaches, you don't see anybody on the hot seat. But you didn't ask my ascending, so you decided to go descending. There's two coaches that have the chance to descend into or is that hot seat if it doesn't work out. Same thing with you, AD Drew.
Yeah.
Did I read that wrong?
No. If I think about it, if I do think about it, I think obviously Texas Southern's head coach will probably have the warmest seat, if you will.
Yeah, and that was obvious and why you probably left it out there. He's at the end of his contract. So absolutely to your point. AD Drew, what about you in regards to ascending, descending coaches? Which direction you going?
I don't know if these coaches would be on the hot seat, but somebody will definitely be chopping down some wood and gathering some logs if these teams do not get off to a good start. And that is going to be one Hugh Jackson at Grambling State. And people, if Alabama A&M, who has a hell of a tough schedule to start, they got Vanderbilt and Southern, but they've got 2 D2s on their schedule. You remember what Lane did last year to Tennessee State?
Yes.
Alabama A&M and Tuskegee is Alabama A&M and Tuskegee. We'll just leave that right there. So if Connell Maynard loses to either one of those D2s, coupled with a possible loss to a Southern or a slip up against a UAPB, we're gonna go ahead and chalk up Vanderbilt. People gonna forget that he won that SWAC championship 2.5 years ago, 3 years, 3 years ago. They will forget about Aquia Glass and the success that he had with Aquia Glass and start gathering logs on him to be able to set the campfire and do something with him.
Y'all have I just like the way y'all warm up these seats. Y'all just don't put the hot fry. Y'all let it simmer. Y'all gonna simmer to put the water in the put the frog in the boiling water. Y'all gonna let it simmer. Don't even know it's hot. Good stuff there. Good points there. Let me stick with you, AD Drew, in terms of players. Let's get into some players. Get into who are some people that you want to keep your eyes on in terms of the SWAC. Who has you excited? Whether it's on the defense, offensive side. What are your thoughts in terms of key players this year?
Well, obviously the obvious one is Jerry Busa, probably the top-rated quarterback in the SWAC coming back. But let's talk about another quarterback in the SWAC. And that's where you work at, Dr. Cavil. That's Andrew Body. Can they keep Andrew Body upright and healthy? And can Andrew Body become that dual threat quarterback that we've always expected him to be with if he's healthy? And I said this yesterday on the Sports Wrap when I was talking about Allen, and I'll say this about Texas Southern. Texas Southern hasn't been able to stop a running nose on defense. It's always leaking. So can Texas Southern play enough defense where Andrew Body does not have to play hero and will Texas Southern the victory? And Grambling is going to be interesting. I'm talking smack about Hugh Jackson, but with Tyler Baker coming in to add it to what we know Jarvion Howard could do, Grambling is going to be that. Either they're going to be that wild card factor, or they're going to be garbage. Grambling will not be mediocre. I don't think this year. They're either going to be hot or garbage.
Charles, where are you going with players to watch? You gonna go on the offensive side of the ball where everybody gets excited, traditionally quarterback, or you go defense? I know I love what you talked about when you pointed out Central. You went to the cornerback and put your focus squarely on the defense. As we see somebody that lock down some receivers and get some interceptions, maybe even get a pick six. Where are you going with the SWAC in terms of player that has your interest that we must keep our eyes on this year?
Well, I said this is the year of the running back, and I do believe there are a couple of guys. Jarvin Howard, Alcorn, he is a load to bring down. Donovan Eagley at Alabama A&M, same type of a hard runner in between the tackles. And I think a wild card for me, and I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, for me, can some offensive coordinators integrate tight ends into their offenses? Because I think you have two players, one in the SWAC and one in the MEAC, who are transformative because they're big, fast, they can block, they are legit pro prospects. In the SWAC, you have a young man by the name of DJ Stevens, an underrated receiver, but he was very much a safety valve for Shedeur Sanders last year. And I mentioned Brendan Brown and Howard over there in the MEAC. Who is the pass rusher? That is a big question mark for me in the SWAC this upcoming year. Sandiata Anderson for Grambling State. Is he the next big-time SWAC pass rusher that everybody has the game plan for?
You know, one that has my interest I haven't heard much about. And I heard a couple of folks say, obviously, keep your eyes on Texas Southern University, rightfully so. Southern has some expectation, and people even have talked about Alcorn in regards to them ascending back to the top. But some people have talked about Prairie View. But I think in a lot of ways, while quarterbacks have been a focus part, I haven't heard about Trayvon Conley. I'm very interested to see, will he ascend and take the next step? I'm really interested. He was a type of guy last year that had some really big games. Certainly with his feet, but sometimes in the air. But I think a lot of people are concerned about his consistency, rightfully so. But he comes from Duncanville, very rich program out here. He's been out there working on his games. I heard he's improved, and he's getting pushed a little bit by a transfer quarterback. I'm really interested to see, because I think he'll get the nod. Will he relinquish, and what will he do this season in regards to seeing if he can take the next step and get his name out front, rightfully so, a lot of folks that have seen ahead of him. So I'm really fascinating from that perspective of not somebody that I know is going to probably transcend, but somebody I'm questioning to see, can they take their next step? So I'm really focused. In a lot of ways, obviously, I think the Prairie View football team goes based on where he goes and what he's able to do. And particularly those folks that believe that Prairie View can get back to the championship game, he will be the reason why, if they get it done, to me, although a lot of folks are focused more in terms of the running back, thinking they'll run the ball by committee. So I'm focused on that. Last question here. Is it too many good games as we get to close out the show? I want to ask you in terms, I'm going to give you two games. You can sneak in the third one if you want. I want to get in two games in regards to what games you want to keep your eyes on this year. Obviously, Charles snuck one out from the MEAC, in regards, and that probably goes duopoly both ways. So I'll put that one out there for you in terms of MEAC SWAC challenge. And obviously you open it up in terms of the MEAC commissioner question, the celebration bowl. So we're going to keep eyes on that to see who makes it there from the SWAC, first of all, what that looks like. But with that being said, what game, Drew, who has your focus point this year in terms of what game you really want to see throughout the season? Is it an early game, a late game, mid-season type of game? Is it a divisional matchup in terms of your eyes, or is it actually a non-conference game in terms of the SWAC?
Are you serious? You just asked me what game do I want to focus on? Did he just ask me that, Charles?
I give you. I think you got two of them.
Well, we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room. Charles has already mentioned it. The SWAC East will be determined.
I said myself
in Miami Garden. I'm like the athletes right now. I'm focused on the first game, and FAMU's first game is Jackson State. Jackson State, I don't know if FAMU has a mental block against Jackson State or what. Because, can I tell y'all something? This didn't start with Coach Prime, y'all.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't.
This has gone on. This was happening just like Jackson State had fans before Prime. Jackson State had victories against FAMU before Prime also. Just want to let everybody know that. This is not a new phenomenon that we've been dealing with in Tallahassee. So that is the first game that I have to focus on. The second game also involves Jackson State. That's going to be Jackson State Alcorn at the end of the season.
At the end of the season. I like it. Start.
I am really expecting Alcorn to be a return to those winning ways that they had in the East after, a couple years of transition to the West. Everybody, Alcorn's been playing with one hand tied behind their back ever since they've gone to the West because, they took all the home games away from them the first year because of COVID, and they still had to pay back some games last year. This is the first year since COVID Alcorn has had the schedule and able to play the schedule as it was originally intended to be played. So with that, with Fred McNair's pedigree as a winner, before Jackson State dominated the SWAC, Alcorn dominated the SWAC. So, I'm thinking that's going to translate since they've got all those things handled. Two quick questions about games since you brought up games, Dr. Cavil, and then I'm going to turn it over to Charles. Hey, how in the hell does Mississippi Valley State go to a Division II school, an FCS going to a Division II school, even though it's an in-state rival? That just don't seem right. Is Delta State paying Valley? If they are, then we got some problems that we need to look at down in Valley. And is Lincoln, California, the new Virginia Lynchburg?
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Asked and answered. Go ahead, Charles.
I think the obvious game is going to be, of course, the Orange Blossom Classic, Jackson State, and Florida A&M. But I think I kind of set this up a little bit earlier. If Prairie View can maneuver themselves through September and get to the midterms with a smile on their face, keep an eye on this October 28th matchup, Prairie View and Florida A&M. It could be a preview of the SWAC championship.
That's a good one.
Homecoming.
Homecoming. Florida A&M. Yeah.
Man, that's both of y'all hit some games that had me intrigued, particularly the way you broke them down. For the lab listeners out there, I want you all to put in a chat. What are the 2 or 3 games, whether it's in the CIAA, SIEC for that case, MEAC or SWAC, and you can do all of them. Which are the 2 or 3 games that you have coming into the season that you have your eyes on? As we play through this out, we'll record this and we'll come back to see as we get closer to those games, are there still games that we want to keep our eyes on, or their games that we're watching for a different reason. With that, thank you, AD Drew, for joining us. Thank you, Charles, as always. Thank you for listening Inside the HBCU Sports Lab. Make sure you catch our podcast and your friend, and tell your friends and your colleagues. I'm Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, the Dean of HBCU Sports, coming from inside the lab in the College of HBCU Sports with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, and A.D. Drew. Again, thank you for listening, Dr. Liz, Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington, Charles Bishop, every Tuesday and Thursday. And next time you hear from me, Thursday, I will be in Norfolk getting ready for the MEAC Media Day. We have a great interview lined up. We're going to take it a little bit off in regards to the sports, and we'll come back next week as we will give you all the different views, but we'll have an interview with the professor that's going to talk a little bit about the outside and cultural aspects in the business side of sports. So we're going to give you some in-depth before you get ready for it, and also talk about his new study coming up, which I think will be fascinating that he's planning to do. We're going to go to a couple of HBCU football games and take a deeper dive and look at the tailgate coach. And so I'm intrigued about that. I'm looking forward to working with him on that as we get that done. So we'll get a chance maybe to tease that out a little bit, but we'll focus on his current study. With that being said, we look forward to this Thursday as we discuss the latest news in the lab. Follow me, Dr. Kenyatta Cavil, on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. That's DrKenyattacavil. It's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab 1 on Twitter. Inside the HBCU Sports Lab on YouTube and Facebook, as you know. Like, subscribe. Make sure you download my JBN, my BCSN. Dream big. Continue to move forward. We will talk with you soon. Charles?
Of course.
Drew?
Lecture.
Dismiss.